What is up, guys? It's your boy GRC. This is Crypto in the Morning, live every single day at 11 a.m. Eastern for the rest of time. Okay? We have a lot of topics to cover. I'm going to let you know from my perspective real quick. I was just in Vegas for 6 days. I'm a little under the weather, but it's an hour show, whatever. So, but just understand, I'm paying the S attention. Okay? And I watched videos all morning on this stuff, so I probably have a little to add. But the ETH 2.0 merge is something that people need to not just look at and just regurgitate. If it's not like that, like there's moving parts. Ethereum is a big player. There's $10 billion already locked in Ethereum on the beacon chain. You know what I mean? Yeah. So there's a lot of things going on here. And in my opinion, I want to know what Jesse has to say, to be honest, guys. Jesse from Liquid Loans, I was on the feet with him partying. He's in tip-top shape. I'm wrecked. So I'm bullish on them. No, but guys, seriously, I hung out with the PowerCity crew. That's why I wanted Jesse to come on. One, because I know he's knowledgeable about a lot of things. And two, I was so thankful for the party that they threw for me. Or not for me, but, that I was allowed to go to. One of the best experiences I've ever had. And Jesse and all his buddies really made sure we all had water and were taken care of. And I really appreciated that because, Sam, you know how it gets with the water. I would hate to see Sam thirsty at PulseCon. That would be wrecked. I would leave. But anyway, let's go crypto in the morning, guys. We're going to talk really dense. I need Sam to get in there. I need Jesse to get in there. I need to pay attention. Let's get into it.
You already know what time it is. Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning. Waiting on phone. Crypto in the morning. 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 Waiting on phone. Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning. Smoking a blunt on my way to the gym. 11 a.m. and I'm already tuned in. Got me some hacks and I'm making a stake. Got me some heads on, I'm making it rain. Pay me some maxi and that's just in case. Jim ready sent me to show you the way. Crypto in the morning. 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 Crypto in the morning.
It's just me. I like this. This is nice. I like this. I like seeing my face up here. How you guys doing today? I am doing awesome. I just got back from the gym. And I know there's a lot of people in this community who are excited about Pulse. We're excited about Pulse Chain and Pulse X. Well, what if there was like a way to kind of preview what was going to take place with Pulse, right? The best we could do in real life, right? We can conjecture, we can talk about it, but what if there was an actual thing happening? Well, we have the merge with Ethereum, where we have a fork, a proof of work fork for Ethereum, and then we have a proof of stake fork with Ethereum. What does that mean? Well, that means Ethereum beat Richard Hart to his own game. You get free copies of all your shit. We have an awesome show lined up for you today. Not enough people are talking about this, but I believe personally, this community is probably best equipped out of all of crypto to understand what is taking place with the proof of work Ethereum. Binance, FTX, two of the largest exchanges in the world have already said that they're going to support ETHW, right? Is it going to be like ETH Classic, the original? Right? It still holds value, right? There's still value there. If you got 10 grand and now you could have $2,000 on another chain, right? If you have 100,000 hacks, now you have 200,000 hacks, right? I don't know what's going to go on. We have Jesse here from PowerCity and Liquid Loans, who's going to dive into all this. I'm super excited to see what's going on with this. And I'm not sure how we're going to transition. Yo, what's Gucci?
Dude, this is intense information and everyone needs to listen up. I'm sorry, Sam. We don't say that every day. Like we've had the Hedron stuff, the Hex stuff. I think it's important to start paying attention, and I'm always about sell the news on an Ethereum guy. Like, but it's not even about that. I need to see the rates that you can earn from staking your Ethereum, and I actually have them all listed right here, post and pre and post merge, and some of the burning. The whole thing. It's a lot, guys, and a lot of it means a little. But really, we're making this deflationary and faster, and a proof of stake network at the end of the day.
Correct.
And what have you learned so far that's been a little bit like you hear other people talking, you see all the articles, you put down spreadsheets, facts, and people constantly just say you're an angry fucking, but really the truth is you truthfully are looking at this stuff and you're new-ish to crypto. You don't have this bias of like, Sam doesn't live. Everyone asked me, where's Sam? Where's Sam in Vegas? I said, Sam is working. That's all I was just like, I don't know. He's working. So I want to know everything. Jesse knows a lot. I'm going to listen a lot today. I have a few notes here for like some specifics that I can chime in. But at the end of the day, this is a 4 or 5 part transitionary period that they say at this point is going to last 2 years. But the first phase is launching in a day or 2 or 3 days. So we want to pay attention because what if we can capitalize on this?
What if you get free tokens? What if you get all of your copies of Hex and Maxi and Deci and all the other, Hedron? What if you get copies of all that? That's how it's going to work. OpenSea has already said they're not going to support the NFTs that you get copies of. Some people on Twitter who think they don't get copies. I literally don't know why more people are not talking about this.
No, because dude, it's confusing. You know how Richard's such a good marketer and he just says things kind of flat, but nobody really knows what. He says it in a way that guys like me can understand, at least after 2 or 3 tries. But Vitalik don't talk like that. Those devs don't talk like that. If you read those documentations and flowcharts, you have to like take an Adderall and like fucking rip some caffeine because you got to stay locked in. There's a lot of moving parts, ZK rollups, sharding. Guys, there's a lot here. Okay, Ethereum, in my opinion, is going to become complete. I think it's already been deflationary at a point, like technically. But now I think it's going to become more deflationary. And I think that a lot of things are going to go down. I can't predict the future, but Richard Hart said that he was going to beat Vitalik to market with his own product.
Not so.
But I mean, it's also 0.5 of the 2. Like, they kind of play it and stretch it out. But I want to talk about specifics today, not necessarily like the Richard Hart. Like, it's all it. I just want to talk about the specifics. So guys in the chat that are grinding right now can maybe make a play. And I think there's a guy who might know about a play.
What's it? The man himself. What's up, Jesse?
Give it to us straight, bro.
Yo.
How you doing, brother?
So ETH is supposed to fork here or actually merge into what will be known as ETH proof of stake here anytime now, like in the next day or 2. And that raises the question, what happens to all the miners? If you go to CoinMarketCap right now, you can actually see the future IOU price of ETH POW. People are already speculating on this fork ETH proof of work coin, and it's something around like $30. Okay,
no one's talking about it.
And no one talks about it.
Why? Before we get into the semantics, why do you think so many people, especially like this community, out of all the crypto communities there are, this community you would think is going to have the best understanding of how to approach this because they put some fucking amount of energy to understanding copies and all the things around a fork of Ethereum. Why do you think people are not paying attention to this?
Well, some people are. I mean, listen, there are entire test nets that are already spooled up. There's already speculative IOUs on this stuff. If you go into the right communities, you can see that people are buzzing and ready for a fork of Ethereum. Now, here's my opinion on all this. Do I think that an ETH proof of work is like the chain is viable long-term, for years to come, and it's going to be successful? It'd be better than ETH proof of stake or better than any of the side chains that are proof of stake? No, I don't. But there's money there. And where there's a play for entities to make money, They're going to do it. So these large mining organizations, yes, they will continue to mine. They will fork. If they do a hard fork and they copy everyone's, copy the entire system state and just continue running, that literally means it's the largest airdrop in the world to date, and all your stuff would be over there. There's a play there for them. There's a play there for other people, for anybody. There's no reason why they wouldn't do that. Every major change in a blockchain in the past, there's been a hard fork where you've got this entity that says, "Oh wait, there's this play over here. Let's just fork." So I think we're gonna see it. I don't see a world where there's not an ETH POW. Literally, all these sites are already spooled up waiting for it. Binance says they'll support it. Now there are protocols that say, "Oh, we're not going to support it." So let's think how that looks.
Correct.
USDC Circle says we're not going to support it. What does that mean? Well, if there happens to be copies system state of everyone's tokens, all that means is they're not going to allow redemptions of the USDC back to Circle. If Link says they're not going to support Link, all that means is Link stops being produced to node operators, and there's no front end for people to do things with Link. Any other protocol that says they're not going to support ETH POW, all that means is basically they're not going to build a front end, and they're not going to, you can't interact on their front end with their tokens.
Weak sauce.
But that doesn't mean that somebody's not going to run a Uniswap. And if there is a system state copy, you can grab your tokens, go to Uniswap, and do what you want with them. Swap them for something else, swap them into ETH POW, speculate on just holding ETH POW over there. And guess what? It's free money. It's free. Now, the speculative price right now on CoinMarketCap would be like $30. So, you can, if there is a system state copy and you dump all your stuff, how much are you actually going to get? A few $100s, a few $1,000s worth of ETH POW. What's that going to turn into in the future? Who knows? We are in a bear market. This chain could get used for some things throughout the years. It could go up in value. If there ever was a bridge formed, or exchanges like Binance says they're already going to carry it. So does that mean people are just going to dump out of it? So the price is going to go down? Nobody really knows. But the point is, it will feel a lot like a free airdrop, and there is going to be some sort of value over there, some sort of play for you to do.
USDC is not the play.
Neither are the NFTs, because OpenSea said they're not going to support them.
Which makes sense because there's no liquidity. So it's what are you just going to fork it over and have more no liquidity? It's extra no liquidity to trade.
I don't ever think NFTs are a play anyway.
Me neither.
Now that sounds weird, right? Because PowerCity is Pixel Park. Here's my thoughts on that. NFTs, while there are a handful of NFTs on the ETH chain that have become extremely valuable, people pay a lot of money for them. That's like a tiny, tiny fraction of all the NFTs. Most NFT people, they buy NFTs for 50 cents or $1 or even less. And they just like it because it's art. And it's more or less a place for artists to showcase their work. And some of this stuff rarely goes up in value a lot, but other things are just they're just always cheap. So there's more value in the NFT platforms, and it's easier to make a buck by investing in an NFT platform because there are millions of users on those things than necessarily jumping into some random animal NFT and hoping that goes up in value. Your chances of just being involved in the platform and making money is far greater than speculating on an individual NFT.
Well, the bear market just goes to zero, and the bull market does what everything else does. So it's if you like the zero part, then you're Gucci. But I mean,
Well-
like in general, like people get bored of that shit. It's just the way it is. Like I get bored of it too. I bought 3 Pokemon for like $300, and I still want to play the game and learn about that. But you get bored when there's not updates on stuff. Yeah, I'm an ADD freak, and everyone, all these, the guys in the United States, they just play video games and shit all day long. They waste their money all day long. What's up, Jaja? 9021. That's Sam's girlfriend. Am I allowed to say?
Yes. Sorry.
Yes.
Yep. Thank
Sorry,
you.
I didn't want to. I was like, that's so yeah. My question to you guys, and if you don't all the way understand, I'm sure a few people in the chat will understand. How deflationary can ETH become? Like if so, right here I have the ETH issuance TLDR mining rewards 13,000 ETH per day as far as the merge, and then the staking rewards. I mean, before the merge, pre-merge. So that's 13,000 ETH per day. The staking rewards would be 1,600 ETH per day, and they're doing some sort of triple halvening thing where they like take 90% of the value out when they do the halvening. But I don't know.
So,
do you know what I'm talking about, guys?
Jesse, I'm going to try to paraphrase a little bit here, and then
Please.
please, if you have more information, correct me. So with POW, they already have a test net. Bullish actually found a bridge the other day. I don't know if it's a test bridge or whatever, but there's a bridge already, I think, that's in place. And the POW is going to have its own set of standards, and then POS is going to hit its set of standards. So on POS, you're going from 13,000 ETH per day issued to about 90 or 99% drop from then, because it's going to be going to validators now. Where on the proof of work chain, the EIP 1559 that was put in place, several months ago, maybe a year or two ago, or whenever that it came out, is basically getting rescinded. Which, if you're not sure what EIP 1559 is, it's the piece of Ethereum that took a tiny portion of transactional fee and burned it, right? So that was supposed to reduce the inflation effect. But what does that effectively do? It's like, hey, GRC, you're making $1,000 a day mining. Let me just take $10 from you and put that in somebody else's pocket in terms of redistribution. So the POW network is actually rescinding that. But so the inflation on one side is going to be different than the inflation on the other side.
But at the end of now, at some point, are they just going to, if all things go perfectly, which nothing ever does, are they going to abandon the first chain completely and just move over? Or is that Ethereum guys going to hold that shit up just because they're there?
Well,
Jesse,
Ethereum Classic still exists, and there's a handful of protocols over there. It doesn't mean that it's like thriving and there's like millions of users, but it still exists and it still has value.
Can you talk about, right? So we have Ethereum Classic, which is born from a hack, right? And the MakerDAO, effectively, if people don't know, like got hacked in 2016-ish, roughly, and they were stealing a bunch of money per minute or per hour from the MakerDAO, and they decided to fork Ethereum. So Ethereum Classic is the OG, right? And then we have the Ethereum that we know today, 1.0. You could reference it as. And now we're going
Beacon Chain, the name for the first one? I think that's what it's called. The Beacon Chain?
I think that's a side chain that they're using to test right now.
Oh yeah. But it's not right.
So, Jesse, from conjecture standpoint, we have one that was bred because of fraud, right? But then we have Ethereum right now, and say if you look at Classic, that's $50 ish. I think the other day I checked it and it was around $40-$50 per one Ethereum Classic. Now Ethereum today is what, 1,700, 1,750, something along those lines. I see that POW could be somewhere in that middle range. I don't think personally that it's going to be anywhere close to Ethereum Classic. I think it's going to be higher than Ethereum Classic because, the reasoning behind the change today. There's a lot of people that believe that using POW is a safer way, more decentralized way of doing things because of the for multiple different reasons. We don't need to get into all the reasons, but for multiple different reasons that are valid.
It's more efficient.
Well, it's not necessarily more efficient, but like if you have if you have a vested interest, as in tens of thousands of dollars into equipment and a variable cost on a monthly basis, whether that's electricity and or maintenance, and you distribute this around the world, there's a collective, distribution, which makes it more decentralized than if you look at POS decentralization. 60 something plus % of validators are located in one region, the United States. What is the United States going to do? Well, when I think of this example, if you think of like a auditorium, right? And there's 20,000 people in there and there's 15 doors or there's 30 doors, and I'm a nefarious actor that I call myself the United States. What am I going to do? Am I going to go into the middle of the auditorium and just tell people with guns to do whatever? Or am I going to stand at the 20 doors with guns and tell people and control the entire masses that way? So you can think about the validators as a representation for those doors. And the United States could use those doors, i.e. validators, to control Ethereum, right? So I think that POW ETH can hold a higher price than Ethereum Classic. And Jesse, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this.
I'll be right back, guys. I gotta pee.
Well, we can speculate that there will be less activity on ETH POW than on ETH POS. So one of the main problems with the current ETH is transaction speeds, gas prices. Well, what happens when 90% of all the people just jump on board the ETH POS, and then what you find is you have an ETH proof of work chain that's forked, and it's actually faster and cheaper because there's less people on it. There will certainly be protocols that say, hey, there's value over here and just continuing to run, or even new protocols that say, hey, we like the narrative of proof of work and mining being more secure. Whether you believe that narrative or not, there's other people that do believe that narrative. So that they can launch their stuff over there, and it's still cheaper than it used to be running on the current ETH that we have now. I think that we will see two different chains, and there will be some sort of activity over there, and it will be more activity than ETH Classic had or has.
So I agree that a decent amount of activity will shift to ETH 2.0, where I think, and you may have more insight on this or thoughts on this, but do you think that ETHW is going to have greater activity than ETH Classic?
ETH proof of stake will certainly have more activity than ETH Classic.
So that would indicate that this is conjecture, guys, but that would give us an idea that ETHW is probably going to hold a higher price than ETH Classic. Is that how you might be thinking about this? And remember, we're not saying what you guys should do or anything. This is just having a conversation here.
I would personally speculate, not financial advice, that ETH POW would be more valuable than ETH Classic.
So what's the play here?
Well, it's interesting, right? Now, let me caveat by saying I believe that Pulse Chain is going to be wildly successful. It has some advantages, right? We may end up losing the largest airdrop in the world narrative, but here's what we didn't lose. Over 150 protocols natively launching on it. How about PulseX, where you have single-sided staking, you have farming, you have all sorts of stuff that you can do with PulseX inside of Pulse Chain, things that ETH POW does not have. And the community and all the hype that comes with the community really shilling Pulse Chain, right? That's not really there for ETH POW at the moment. So I do think that it may perform differently than what Pulse Chain, how it will perform. So what does that mean? Me personally, I'm going to stick around on Pulse Chain. That doesn't mean I'm going to stick around on ETH POW, even if they feel similar at the start. There's a bunch of protocols that say they're not going to support the chain. That means their front ends aren't going to work. If it happens to be a hard fork with the system state, and I have tokens, let's say I have Link, or I have USDC, or I have anything over there, I personally would probably dump those the moment I can find some sort of Uniswap front end. I would dump all those, and I would get into the native coin of the chain. And since it's free money and I didn't have to do anything to get it, I would just hold it. Because why? Because the same narrative we've heard a million times. Holders always win, right? When you hold things for a long time, they tend to go up in value over a long period of time. That's how you make money. Pull up the chart. Let's take a look. I haven't even looked.
Where?
What was ETH Classic when it first forked? What was the price of ETH Classic?
Probably a fraction. Do you think that people? Well, Bullish will probably pull that up in a second. Do you think that people? Because this what you said is the first time this has crossed my mind. Because I actually didn't even think about it like that. I don't think that the proof of work fork in most people's minds is, at least my mind, it didn't cross it, that it's going to have anywhere near 100x or 150x returns unless something spectacular happens with their marketing and or development. I think that
You'll know.
You never know. I agree.
You'll know, like, if that stuff's going down, like on the feed, like you'll see it on TV, you'll see it on the internet, like you'll know that there's a buy that, if it's really blowing off top. But Ethereum is a very heavy asset in the crypto world, so moving it regardless with the price.
It's interesting. It's interesting, right? So I told you what I might do, right? If I have Link and there's a system state copy and I find that I have Link on ETH POW, I may dump that, for example, for the ETHW. What does that do to the liquidity pool ratios? It removes ETHW from the liquidity pool and it puts in, the Link. What does that do? What does that mean for price? Well, really, it means the price of ETHW just went up a little bit. If everybody's doing that, if everybody's dumping all these ERC20s, if there is a system state, that means you could see violent upward price action in ETHW as people are all dumping out of ERC20s, putting that value back into the native coin.
I agree. Have you seen, because I want to ask you about Hex on here in a minute, but so have you seen a front end for Uniswap being announced? Have you seen a DEX being announced? Have you seen any chatter in that direction where this is going to be available?
I have not played with any of the test nets, but just the fact that I hear that there's already a bridge between test nets of ETH and test nets of ETH POW, I would venture to say there's probably DEXs as well that are already on testnet. So
what's the play here with Hex? Right, somebody's got 100 grand or 100,000 hex, say, and that's on Ethereum, and now they have 200,000 hex, right? Because it's got a system state copy over on the POW, right?
Some people will provide LP for that, certainly.
Well, I think so.
Okay,
I would if I had a bunch of hex for show.
Because it's going to help your bag.
The primary pairing for hex is paired back to USDC. Which works on ETH right now because USDC is redeemable. It's a stable coin that works. Like from start to finish, it works. You can always send it back to Coinbase and redeem it for $1 for the fiat. But if Circle says they're not going to support USDC, so now you just have a token that is no longer redeemable. The most likely thing that would happen is people just dump out of USDC, which really sends that down to zero. Now, you could see the same thing on Pulse Chain. Okay, Circle's not going to allow redemptions of USDC that exist on Pulse Chain that were copied over. They're not going to allow you to send those to Coinbase and redeem them for dollars for the fiat. They would be cutting their business in half if they did that, right? And they'd be cutting it in half, every time that there's a fork, if they allowed redemptions of copied over coins. Because stable coins should be fully redeemable, not all of them are. There's plenty of models out there that are fractional reserved and they suck. But for any fully backed and redeemable stable coins, they have to turn them off in the event of a fork. They have to cut the ability for people to redeem them. So the most logical thing that people do with stable coins in the event of a fork is they sell them as quick as possible for anything that they can, right? They sell them for Hex, or they sell them for the native coin of the chain, or they sell them for something that they think is going to work on the chain that's not going to be turned off, which drives the price of that stable coin all the way down to zero. Now, if Hex is paired to a stable coin, remember the two halves of a pool are equal in value. If a stable coin is going down to zero, people are going to arb that until arb the crap out of that until Hex is also worth zero. The only way to fix that is to have Hex paired to something else. Hex would have to be paired to PLS, for example, on the Pulse chain, or it would have to be paired to another token, or like anything that's paired to USDC. People would have to pull their liquidity and go pair that coin to something else. Otherwise, risk the value of their token going to zero with USDC going to zero.
Jesse, a lot of people.
And this is something we don't talk about a lot with Pulse Chain too. Listen, if USDC on Pulse Chain is not redeemable, and the masses start dumping it, and Hex is paired to it, that means Hex goes down with it. And the only way to fix that is for liquidity providers prior to the fork pulling all their liquidity and pairing Hex to something else first. And this is something nobody likes to talk about.
We like to talk about it.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
And it would look like a coordinated rug pull, and it's scary, right? So, for example, prior to Pulse Chain, it's like, oh shit, all this stuff's getting copied over, but USDC is not going to be redeemable. What do we do? Okay, if all the liquidity providers withdrew their liquidity, we'd all think, oh shit, we were just rugged. But what if it was a coordinated, planned move so that they could just pair it to ETH temporarily, so that when the fork happens and the system state copies over on Pulse Chain, you find that ETH is paired, or Hex is paired to Pulse instead of Hex being paired to USDC.
Are these? I would assume you have more experience on this kind of stuff. I would assume that there's been forks previously. Are things, even if they're not redeemable, still valuable? They still hold some value in some cases, but not in necessarily all cases. Do you expect, obviously this is just an opinion, but do you expect, say, USDC to hold zero value, or do you think it's going to be 5 cents on the dollar, 20 cents on the dollar, 80 cents on the dollar?
It's impossible to go all the way to zero, because just the way the decimals work, like you can go out tons of decimal points on these coins.
Less than a penny. We'll call that less. We'll call that zero, but less than a penny.
Like the first, several $1 million worth of million tokens worth of selling of USDC, and the price is already starting to move, percentage points downward. I would imagine USDC would be worth, I don't know, a penny or less, in a very, very short period of time.
It's such a it's such a no-brainer to just not have it. You know what I mean? Like that's when the fork happens. Like let's say we all had preparation for the fork, in my opinion, and I've thought this the whole time. Like I don't think people are going to provide liquidity to USDC because now it's getting fragile. I see a lot of
Let's
news.
say,
I
let's
see a
say,
lot of news, man. It scares me to death. I'm sorry.
let's say that USDC loses 99% of its value, right? Because why would you hold it if it's not redeemable? That is the thing that pegs it back to $1, by the way. When, for example, when USDC comes off of $1 and it's trading at 95 cents, the only incentive people have to buy it is they know, oh shoot, I can buy this thing and I can just send it right back to an issuer and get $1 worth of fiat for it. There's your arbitrage. There's the thing that convinces people to buy it back up to $1. When that mechanism no longer exists, there's no longer an incentive to buy it. You're just assuming that, okay, I'm going to buy this thing. Why? Because you think the markets will price it at $1? Like if there's no guaranteed redemption, it gets really, really scary. And with that fear, everyone just sells out of it. Now let's pretend USDC loses 99% of its value. Now let's pretend for a second there's an ERC20 paired to USDC. Call that whatever you want. Call it Link, call it Hex, whatever, okay? That thing also loses 99% of its value because it's paired to that thing that's going towards zero.
Yes.
So it's really smart not to be paired to USDC when a fork happens. The liquidity provider should be thinking about this and pairing to something else. Whether you pair Hex to Hedron for a period of time, like almost all of Hex liquidity paired to Hedron, not forever, but, for a period of time, or you pair it all to ETH just long enough to live through the fork until there's another stable coin you can pair it back to. This would be really smart not to be paired to USDC through a fork.
What about something like that's effect kind of like the idea is that it's fully backed, like DAI, right? So if you have DAI, it's going to be effectively backed by other crypto, and now all the crypto in there is effectively copied. It's still effectively got a backing behind it. So what are your thoughts on something like that?
Okay, so when something, say that again.
So DAI, right? From my understanding, DAI, right? MakerDAO. So there's,
Uh-huh.
say, $1.5 billion supply of DAI, and they've, $1 billion.
Problem.
Say it was $1.5 billion. Say there's probably 1.7 billion worth of crypto or 2 billion worth of crypto that's backing it. Whether I think there's like a handful of them. I think it's several, and like Wrapped BTC, ETH, and like I don't know what the other ones are, but there's several other things that are backing up DAI. Now,
right.
In
look. There's a problem. And listen, all stable coins have this problem with forks. Stable coins have some sort of backing. Some are fully backed, some are fractionally reserved, but basically a stable coin has something that was put up as collateral that's being held, and then a stable coin minted with the hopes that that stable coin is redeemable back for that collateral. Okay. Now in Maker, that's ETH. ETH is put up as collateral at a ratio of 150%. There has to be a minimum of 150% for collateral for each DAI that's minted. And the contracts state that you can come back with your DAI and you can withdraw, you can get your collateral back. Your DAI will burn, you'll get your collateral back. When all that copy's over, the problem with that is, although Pulse replaces DAI, the oracles that function, that are looking for all these price points for ETH, are still looking for prices of ETH. They're not looking for prices of Pulse. And there's no way to fix those contracts so that they're looking at the correct prices.
Gotcha.
The
Okay. So
protocol like immediately breaks. It immediately breaks because the thing it's trying to look for, which is ETH, no longer exists on the chain, and the prices are completely out of whack. You know, you could see like everybody instantly get liquidated, or like just everything immediately death spiral down to
I've never
zero.
seen that before, Jesse. Just kidding. I've seen it a couple times in the last 6 months. Zero nukes to zero. That means money to zero. Used to be a lot. People, dude, I remember people shilling me Terra Luna at $63, just telling me it's time to go. Like, you know what I mean? So everyone just remember, in this market, you can just pay attention a little. Like, if you actually are trying to pay attention, like, you're going to pretty much be more aware than everyone if you're emotionally detached. That's the hard part, though. Like, if every time your shit goes up 50%, you lose your shit, you're going to get wrecked, because it's like, I already got wrecked so many times that it kind of kills it down. I'm going to watch this, and I am going to definitely not have USDC, period, end of story. And that I have USDC, but to be honest, I've been buying Hedron and stuff like this. So it's dwindling. But my whole point is, I don't think it's fair to like listen to what Richard's really putting on the internet as far as like the Bitcoin market and stuff. Yes. But when it comes to the product that he doesn't know when they're going to launch exactly, he doesn't know where it's good. He can't know all this shit. Maybe he does. I don't know. But like, this has changed a lot in the last 30 days. Like, period. For me, I was like, sell the news, and then it's like, oh shit, here's these spreadsheets and flowcharts. I'm like, well, good lord.
You know what I read today? Steph from Staker app. Did you see his tweet?
No, but tell me about it.
He thinks the bottom's already in, and a lot of people follow him because they think he's a great trader, and he also called the Bitcoin top. And he's called a number of different tops. That doesn't necessarily mean he can call or anybody can call the bottom. But you've got Richard that says Bitcoin's going to 11K or pray. You got Steph, who a lot of people follow, who says, no, the bottom's in.
What do you think, Jesse? Stop acting like you're not a little genius over there. I saw you. I know what you're about. Tell me what you think's going to go down. You don't have to hold back the show. I'm already slandered enough. It doesn't really matter. I want to know, what the frick do you actually think when you're at your home by yourself?
Dude, the markets are so irrational. It's so hard to guess. Like, I don't know. I have no idea. Are we going down? I don't know. Are we going up from here? I don't know. Is it probably a good time to start DCAing? Yes.
But what are you DCAing to? Just ask Jesse.
Well, I prefer not to talk about other coins that I'm in.
That's a good point. You have a
So question on this. The clarification on DAI real quick. So on DAI, on their protocol, there's a portion of that looks for an oracle, which, if people are not familiar, that's just something that pulls data from somewhere else, from my understanding. So part of the protocol of DAI for the basket of collateral is looking for the prices of those things. And that link is going to be broken. Am I understanding that correctly?
That's correct.
Okay. What do you think about overall volatility? Because it's not exactly the same thing, but one way to conceptualize this that seems to be easier for a lot of people to grasp is last month, Tesla did a 2-for-1 stock split, right? And they went from, say, 1 billion shares to 2 billion shares.
Do the same people get the stock?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
right? Similar.
Inflate supply so that and give you the USD value on it, just so it's.
So if you have two shares of Tesla stock, now you have 4 shares of Tesla stock. They were 1,000, now they're 500 or whatever, a quarter of that. So this is similar to conceptualize to that, but this is different because in stock, I can't say, hey, I don't want the split. Maybe sell that off and go back over here. So this, when you think about this doubling, there can be a drastic increase in volatility, even on what we're going to call it quote native or POS, right? That's where we believe that there's going to probably be more users, right? So this one there's more users can also see a fluctuation in prices. That's what I mean by volatility. It just means the aberrations up and down, right? Versus POW, right? Which is definitely going to be volatile, right? So I wanted to hear what you think about that, Jesse, because this is going to be a copy. There's going to be people that would be like, hey, I just want ETHW because I think that shit's going to go bananas. And I think that there's all this other stuff going on, but there's other people who are just be like, F this.
Yeah, so the question always becomes how much new money is going to come in to change all the prices, right? So I don't really see millions of people jumping ship from ETH POS to ETH POW and making the price go to the moon. Now, maybe I think it'll go up a bit, maybe, right? I think it'll have some sort of action over there, but it's not going to, like, where are the new users? Where are all the new people coming in that want to, like, are driving the price up? Now, ETH has had like 6 years of promising a proof of stake chain. They keep kicking the can down the road, and everybody's been front running everyone, like trying to front run everyone else, speculating on the price of ETH, like speculating that ETH is going to be more valuable. So everyone's like, oh, I need to get in early. I need to get in early. So that's why we saw the price go up so much over the past couple of years, is because, like, it's just like, it's all speculation. It's all 100% speculation that ETH is going to be around. It's going to be a viable chain. Proof of stake is going to kick ass
before it's social consensus. Like, how much money do you need? Like, at what point is it like, oh, we can't like wreck everyone? Because you know what I mean? Like, there's so many people that use Ethereum that it's like, at this point, to me, the only reason I like it for the most part is because I think a lot of people use it. So that it's like, whether that's people with a lot of money, people with little money.
Well, how is this not going to be like any other time in history where it's just a sell the event?
No, it is. But I still
everyone has speculated on ETH for so long. Buy the news. ETH 2.0, it's coming. And the can's been kicked down the road for years, but people have continued to speculate through all those years, and the price has gone up so dramatically. And now that the event's finally here, we're not going to see like millions of people just finally wake up out of bed and say, oh, shoot, ETH 2.0 is finally here. The merge finally happened. Now I'm going to buy some ETH. That's not going to happen. You're going to see people dump.
I agree. It's going to. But I wanted to ask your thoughts on this related to the dumping potentially, because if you're a brand new phone, well, this is, not as prevalent today because we're on the, I've got the Pixel and this is like, the 8th generation or whatever it is. So they've had iterative processes to get better at this. But whenever a new technology launches, anybody who has been around the block even slightly recognizes that new phone, that new widget, that new watch, that new XYZ is going to be fucked up in some ways when it happens, right? Like you see it happen all the time. Back in 4 or 5 years ago, the Samsung Note 7, and this is their 7th iteration, started catching on fire, right?
In people's pockets, they would just blow up in fire and start people's pants on fire.
I got stopped on a plane because I had a phone that was a 6. It was a 6, and they stopped me on the plane and they started like asking me questions about it. But the idea behind this is there's people who've been in the marketplace that have the understanding of that with the phones, with any technology, right? And they've got a big bag in that thing, and they recognize that the old, we can call it analog if you want to refer to POW, but it's just the version that's been out there for 8 years. We know that works. It's tried and true, right? It works, right? Well, the transition to POS, I think, could scare some of those people. Think of like a dad or a grandpa or whatever who's maybe a little bit more rigid or inflexible in how they think about things, and being like, hey, I will be happy to use POS in 24 months or whatever the case is, versus POW, I know that works. It's been working for 8 years. And I also understand that technology F's up because you have unintended consequences when you launch something new, like POS, that hasn't been tested in this regard as big, like in a live functioning actual, like, you know what I mean? We have,
they have to do this in
Solana and
the
other
bear?
things.
Is it better to do this when no one's using? Because Ethereum fees are like under $1 right now. I don't know how much of a difference that makes, but there's less load on the system, so it's probably easier right now as well. So they're probably trying to keep it hype and just realize, like, you know, there's definitely downside if possible. Like, I mean, that's 100%. But at the same time, if you just put a little bit into something and speculate on it, maybe it'll pay off. So, but don't just like buy a bunch of ERC20s so you can get. That's not going to be a good idea, I don't think. You're going to want to buy ERC20s that people are going to provide liquidity between because they already have the incentive to, because they have a lot of money. And then that's what people like Sam like to do. That's what people like, you know, all the guys that are really into this. So if you can find a pair that you think is going to have liquidity, a lot of the problem with educating people about this is liquidity. People don't really understand, like, in my opinion, why the price of certain coins goes up and down. Like, they just don't really get it, but they buy the coin because they love it and they love the shit. But so this one, I'm up in the air on it as far as I'm going to keep researching it like crazy. But USDC probably not in the game plan to have, so I'll probably find an alternative to that. But at the end of the day, we're in a bear market, guys. Everyone's wrecked except us guys. You know what I mean? Like, you know, most people are just like down 95% as fuck, and they're just like, whatever. So any kind of speculative nature maybe could stimulate some, who knows? Because, again, we're just going to wait and see, guys. Bullish, do you want to pull up some advertisings while I shill the new YouTube channel? Guys, we have a new YouTube channel, and we get to 1,000 subscribers. We are going to switch over to that YouTube channel for Crypto in the Morning, and I'm just going to do my reactions and my random stuff on here when I want, so we can be more organized. And I want everyone to subscribe to this channel right now. I would appreciate that. If everyone that's in here, 164 in here, go, and I'll post it on all the destinations. Thank you. You guys can say, before we go, you guys can have closing thoughts, obviously. But we're going to play a PowerCity video from their new, it's down below loaded. So we're going to get a little sneak peek here.
Jesse, you want to give a little introduction before we play it?
Yeah, so at the PowerCity event where we had DJ Lethal, we had the fashion show and such there in Vegas, we released a sneak peek of our front end for liquid loans. Which is called the amplifier, and it does everything that a normal front end does, although it allows you to pre-select choices that you'd like for compounding your rewards automatically, so you don't have to go in there all the time and click claim and then say, well, okay, now I have these coins liquid in my wallet, here's what I want to do with them next. You can just tell the protocol or tell the front end ahead of time what you want to happen, and it just runs it for you. It just does it for you. So we released our sneak peek of what that looks like, and that's what you're going to play.
Let's play it. Looks like the music just stopped there. But
It's probably not.
Yeah, so you can create a vault. You can put in collateral. You can take a loan, mint some USDL. You can do everything that you normally would be able to do. You can stake your loan tokens to earn Pulse and also earn USDL. You can stake your USDL in the stability pool and earn some Pulse and earn some loan tokens. But this thing will run strategies for you, or you could pre-select what you want to happen to all your rewards. So it'll auto compound your earned tokens back into whatever pools that you want them to go. So instead of like, imagine being in a staking pool and you're earning some USDL. And once a week you go in there and you're like, oh, sweet, look at this USDL. Let me claim it. And then let me go buy, something else with it. Well, with this front end, you just tell it ahead of time. Whenever I have claimable USDL, I want it to flow back into paying back. I want it to pay back my loan. Or I want that USDL to go park itself in the stability pool every time it has a claimable balance. And it'll just do that automatically for you. So you don't have to click as many buttons all the time and run those functions. Those functions will already be running themselves.
can you talk about the security of this and like any of the admin functions on this?
Well, we have no control. It's still your keys, your coins. You essentially put the gas up ahead of time so that the gas is covered, and it generates smart contracts that say, when this happens, run this. When that happens, run that. And the security, well, you can withdraw at any time. The Web3 interface that allows you to do this, even if that goes down, you can still access your stuff and withdraw and go use a different front end if you want. It's immutable. We can't change the code. We can't access your wallets. We can't, it's still your keys, your coins. We can't reach in there and we're not doing things for you. It's smart contracts that are doing it all for you.
Is there the admin keys here or it's all closed where nobody can do hacks?
There's no admin keys to this.
To this portion of what PowerCity is doing?
Correct. Okay. Any of this stuff that you see here, there's no admin keys to change how any of this works. Now we could add additional contracts. Now we could stack new smart contracts on top with a new strategy, but we don't have admin keys where we can change the hodl strategy to do something other than what it's already designed to do. We can't go in. In fact, you set all the parameters. You say, okay, let's say haunted strategy. The price goes up 10%. You would like to mint additional USDL. You are the one that selects that, not us. There's a slider bar. You can manually type, hey, whenever the price goes up 10%, I want this following thing to happen. You make all those parameter changes yourself, and then it generates a smart contract off of your decisions. We don't have any ability to go in there and change your generated smart contracts.
Okay, so somebody can just use this separately from all of the other stuff. And if something gets, that was the concern I had with the PowerCity and having admin functions for several different things. But this sounds like segmented.
Well, when you're talking about admin functions, let's talk about something, for example, where admin functions might be necessary. How about an NFT platform where you have to be able to remove any child porn or any illegal stuff that ends up on an NFT platform where pictures are displayed? That would be an example of a good admin control. you have a platform where people can post pictures and videos and stuff, you have to have some sort of admin control so you can report certain things to authorities and you can remove certain things that are literally illegal. That would be one example of an admin control.
And there's another one is Pulse Pot, you know, when you basically have all of your coins separate in your wallet, but just for a very, very limited amount of time, it goes into a pool. And then after the 30 seconds or a minute, it comes right back out to your wallet. So it was like, yes, we needed admin keys there, but it's only 60 seconds. So, but it's a gambling situation. So it's like, you know, those guys. But again, same kind of thing with, I know you can use admin keys and still have a good product. It's just the ones that nuclear in price are like Richard designed Hex to pump, and sometimes it feels like some other things just get popular because they pump.
A lot of the protocols that have admin keys, for example, Olympus DAO. Olympus DAO has admin keys. They literally go in there. They manually change the APY that everyone's paid out. They have complete control to the treasury fund. They can move and change any single parameter of any of the contracts that they want. Okay, that's kind of bad, right? Because you get into a protocol, you know, under the idea that it's going to work a certain way, and then the team comes in and they just start changing everything around on you because they think they know what's better for everybody, and you usually end up getting screwed. Now, that's very different than a protocol that launches with, like, because protocols will launch with multiple contracts. There's not just like one single smart contract that makes it work. Something like PowerCity, for example, will have dozens and dozens of smart contracts. Now, could there be one or two that have limited rights that allow changing of one or two contracts so that you can add new things into the protocol, like a new strategy or add a new token or like add to or something? Yes, that happens in crypto, and that's perfectly acceptable. Like many protocols,
It has to happen, or there won't be any functionality.
correct?
Like other than the things that we do, which is just like LP
Right.
on tokens
Now,
that go up in price.
Now, audits will show that those changeable smart contracts, those things that have keys there, are not things that can like take down the entire protocol and wreck everybody and steal everybody's money. There's a big difference between having keys where you can just like access everyone's wallets or funds and just drain everything, or having the ability to add something into a protocol. Like,
that's where we talk to the devs.
Right. So you talk to the devs, you run everything through audits, you let the community review, you know, the code and such, and then you see, oh, okay, this is okay. And
Closing
like the
words,
example
guys.
I gave you would
Yeah.
probably be the most prevalent. NFT platforms, for example, they're just websites to host pictures, to host NFTs are more than just pictures, but primarily people use them for pictures. You have to have the ability to remove illegal material. Like, that's perfectly acceptable. And I don't think anyone would complain about that.
No.
There's
We
just
haven't seen
that
a lot of these
line.
projects work
There's
yet.
just a line like where that comes into, you know, censorship, but we don't need to go down that route here. I'm curious to know how this auto compounder interacts with everything else. That
Final statement, just because we're on a time crunch, because but please just go ahead.
Go ahead. How does this interact with everything else that PowerCity is doing? Because I know that you guys are launching like a token with your thing as well.
Yeah, of course. So everything inside of PowerCity has a fee that comes along with it. So just like Staker app, if you want to use Staker app, guess what? You're going to pay a fee to use Staker app. Okay, PowerCity is really no different. If you want to use anything inside of PowerCity, you're going to pay a fee. The question then is, where does the fee go? Well, the fee goes to the community. How? Well, you have to have a token that people can stake, and that's how they can collect the fee. Right? So that's the purpose of the token. you acquire the token and you stake it into the core, and now you become an owner of the protocol and you collect the fees that everything in PowerCity generates.
What's the fee on the auto compare?
It's somewhere between 1% and 5%. I'd have to get with the rest of the team.
It's pretty high, don't you think? For like,
hold on. You've got to be able to cover the gas for the transactions. Remember that.
but so what you're saying is
It's a one-time fee. It's not every time it does a function for you, it's charging you another fee. That's not how it works. You pay a fee at the beginning. Essentially that funds what it needs to fund so that there's gas available and such, so it can run all these functions. And that's it. That's the last fee you ever pay.
And we'll just do a full episode with the team, whether it's 2, 3, or 4 of you guys. Just come on, and we'll just set up the episode, whether that's early next week or whenever. But I know that testnet, I heard some whispers about it coming on in a couple weeks.
And then you said you wanted to wrap things up. Jesse, you want to close out and tell people where to reach you, and then GRC is going to wrap things up here.
Yep. Just ask Jesse on Twitter, PowerCity.io. Visit the Telegram. Just search for PowerCity, and that's where we're at. Testnet is right around the corner. We've got a testnet now as we're trying to poke holes into it and break it. And we'll release that to the public. I hope just as soon as Liquid Loans releases theirs, we'll be right behind them with ours that'll interact with their code.
Well, you guys throw a damn good party. So if that means anything, I'm bullish on that. You guys know how to throw a party. Thank you for all those extravagant times this weekend. I don't know exactly who was a part of everything, but I'm sure you and the guy.
We do have, it was a cool week. So we were everywhere. We did the golf tournament. We went to Freddie Quote's party. We had a Hex fashion show with Suzanne. Awesome, actually. And when I first heard of it, I was like, "Oh, fashion show!" Like, I've never attended a fashion show. This might be boring. No, this was amazing. It was awesome. Like everyone had a great time. She had lots of attire for people to wear, Hex pulse chain attire. Corey, an investor, and Freddie Quotes, they wrapped up on stage. You had DJ Lethal there. It was just an awesome time. Now, everything we did throughout the whole week, we had a film crew that went around to everything. We held interviews with people. We had a film crew filming everybody's experiences, and we're putting this all together. We have endless hours of footage, like really good footage.
Make sure you send any good snippets, and I'll post them on my YouTube.
Yeah, we're putting together a documentary that kind of displays what it takes to build a crypto community. So it'll take us some month to put all that.
Get me with the PowerCity boys, Jesse. Get me with the PowerCity boys and you. And we'll talk about PowerCity for a good 30, 45 minutes. Me and Sam probably wouldn't mind circling back to that. And cool. I'm gonna get out of here. I'm 10 minutes over. I'm a little bit under the weather, to be honest. So don't worry about me. Like, I just don't feel like talking that much. But you guys really taught me a lot. I learned a lot. I'm still very confused, but that's not the point, guys. The guys that keep learning, keep listening, they're gonna make a lot of money because nobody else pays attention to nothing.
Yep. Hey, real quick, Battery 79. You can earn USDL at PowerCity because PowerCity is running a front end for Liquid Loans, and that's called the Amplifier. Go check it out on our website or on our Telegram. Again, I'm Just Ask Jesse. See y'all.
Hey, thanks, Jesse. I appreciate you, bro.
Guys. Hey,
you already know what time it is. Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning. Waiting on phone. Crypto in the morning. 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 Waiting on phone. Crypto in the morning. Crypto in the morning. Smoking a blunt on my way to the gym. 11 a.m. and I'm already tuned in. Got me some hex and I'm making it stay. Got me some heads on, I'm making it rain. Play me some maxi and that's just in case. Jim Reddit sent me to show you the way.